So notice Mr. Sheik Tawhidi doesn't want to restore and use restoration as a principle to restore Islam. He wants to reform Islam, meaning he wants to remove the hadith text, yet he does not want to give the correct interpretation at all to the text. No. He wants to remove the text that, in essence, is trying to destroy Islam and its history.
Yes, that's the Islam I believe in. There's all these contradictions. Then there's the...
And you see, Andrew Bolt is even laughing at this Shia, right? Because even Andrew Bolt doesn't wish for that text to be rejected completely. Even Islamophobes want Sahih Bukhari to exist, because that's the way they could fight against Islam, to misinterpret it. So even Andrew Bolt is looking at this fake scholar, Shia, right, and looking at him as an idiot, when in fact Andrew Bolt believes that that text, Sahih Bukhari, is actually authentic and it's part of Islamic history. Yet this Sheikh wants to come here, this Shia misguided Sheikh wants to come here and say, no, you need to throw out this whole book.
Verse from the Quran that I put to Kaiser Trad on this show, yes. Right? And he got in all sorts of trouble about justifying wife beating.
Yes, so we've already refuted Surah 434 in our previous video.
Won't survive, and nobody will survive if it doesn't reform itself.
So Muslims won't survive if it doesn't reform itself. Islam has survived anyway, with or without you, Mr. Sheikh Tawhidi. In fact, you don't want Islam to survive. You're pretty much trying to destroy a book and tell Muslims to throw it away, and you're saying that Islam, this is the way it's supposed to survive, by destroying the text of the book. And even your Islamophobic Andrew Bolt even rejects your stance that we should throw such a book out, because anti-Islamists use that same very book to attack Muslims. So if you throw that out, the anti-Islamists are going to even be angry at you, Mr. Sheikh. Now let us discuss Imam Sheikh M.Tawhidi's Facebook post that he puts out as a message to the rest of the Shia Muslims in the Australian community. We'll run through what he said in his statement, and you will see how much of a fake person he is. The more he speaks, the more he actually exposes himself. So let's read what he says, and you'll even see in his statements that the man is a liar and is trying to cover up his tracks. Let's investigate. Here is his post. And notice this same man that claims he wasn't a leader, yet he claims that he's part of the Islamic Association of Australia, puts out a statement on the 27th of March, which reads, and I'm quoting what he's posted, it writes, "The Association of South Australia announces that it will be undertaking a different approach in dealing with Islamic extremism and corrupt Islamic scripts within the Australian society." So Mr. Sheikh Google Scholar wants to now dismantle and remove corrupt Islamic texts, and we know what those are. That's Islamic history, Sahih Bukhari. As of today, the agenda of this association is to openly condemn Islamic texts. So notice it's not really about extremism anymore. It's to remove Islam and Islamic texts, which distort the pure image of Islam. The Imam of this association will continue to openly discuss Islamic scripts which need reformation or censorship due to their danger or violation to basic human rights. Sheikh M.Tawhidi shall be exercising his rights to free speech and criticism as a Muslim human being, without seeking any form of authority or leadership within Australia. So notice earlier he was going on all sorts of media networks, becoming the spokesperson for Muslims. But notice when the Muslim population has spoken against him, he no longer wishes leadership. within Australia, other than the administration of this association. Sheikh M.Tawhidi represents himself and his association only, and does not speak on behalf of all Shia Muslims. Oh, so he's now distancing himself from Shia Muslims. I wonder why that may be. Therefore, no Shia Muslim should be held responsible for the statement made by Sheikh M.Tawhidi. It now becomes essential for us to request that all Shia Muslim communities within Australia issue a statement announcing their disassociation from the Islamic Association of South Australia and Sheikh M.Tawhidi immediately. This is to protect and preserve the Shia Muslims from any intolerant extremist Muslims in Australia. So notice, folks, Sheikh M.Tawhidi is clearly trying to cover his tracks because the Muslims requested an investigation to see whether he's a true imam, whether does he really have true credibilities, and does he really actually own an Islamic association and an office where he runs Islamic marriage councils and all these other facilities. The fact is, it doesn't exist. He's probably working in an underground office somewhere in South Australia pretending that it's an Islamic association and organization, right? And the best way to trick his audience and to take the attention away from scrutiny is to then disunite from the population, because we're asking whether he has a group, whether he has a following, except for the Facebook followers of 5,000 people, which are probably all against him, right? Does he actually have a following, a jama'ah, an organization? And to try and mislead people and to deflect this sort of questioning, what does he do? His next attempt is to then disunite from even the Shia Muslims, which he doesn't really have a following, nor is he an imam, right? He disunites from them in the attempt that if a day comes where people scrutinize whether he's a real imam, then he could say, well, there you go, I don't have followers. The only reason I don't have followers is because I told them to hide in their dungeons, because Muslims might come out to try and kill them, like Sunni Muslims. They're probably going to do violence against them, right? So this is a method of, it's clear taqiyya. The guy lives and breathes taqiyya. He's literally trying to lie his way out of it, because he's under scrutiny. People are asking questions. The media is going to start going after him. They're going to try and find out whether he's a real imam and want to find out whether he has a following, a real organization. But when they come to know that he doesn't have a following, well, Sheikh M.Tawhidi is pretty switched on. Now he's basically saying that, look, I'm under scrutiny. People are going to find out I'm a fake imam and I don't really have a following. The best thing to do is put out a message across, a fake message across to his followers to say, disassociate yourself from my organization. Go and hide in your homes. So when they come out and question me whether I'm true and I have a true follower and a following, then I could basically say they're all in hiding. And I already raised a message back on the 27th of March. So that way he can cover his tracks. That way he can hide as a fake imam as much as he wants. He could just say, I do have a following, but they're all private members. They're all in hiding. I told them to disunite from me under the cover of them being targeted. And interestingly, this guy fears so much about him being targeted, yet he's not shy to go out in front of the media to promote himself and show his face. He's pretty open and lenient about that. So why now, when people are trying to investigate whether he has a following, he suddenly wants to tell all his sheep followers, which he doesn't have, to go and hide in their homes. Don't come out public. Isn't it? So this guy is clearly lying and hiding his tracks. I'll just run through some comments, some positive comments by the non-Muslims regarding Sheikh Tawhidi. David Danforth says, I like this guy. I support him. He's real, he's honest, and he's a patriot and loves his country. I would welcome a Muslim such as this to my country. Unfortunately, this man is a rare breed among Muslims, as you can see by many of the Muslims' comments hating this guy. So notice here, that's exactly what the non-Muslims want. They want basically the definition of a Muslim to them is basically a disbeliever. A complete disbeliever. That's what they want. So if you become a disbeliever, you are only accepted as a Muslim in that country, as a patriarch. Notice David says he's real, he's honest. So notice what happened to Taqiyya, right? What happened to Taqiyya? If this Muslim was saying good things about the Hadith and good things about the Quran, it becomes Taqiyya, right? But when he says good things about Australia and being patriotic to the Australian flag, it no longer becomes Taqiyya. He becomes a genuine Muslim, does he? Here's another comment from a non-Muslim. He says, I'm an Australian non-Muslim and I support him. So he supports Sheikh Tawhidi. He says, whether he is lying or not. So he supports him whether he is lying or not. Look at that comment. He says, whether he is lying or not, he still supports him. This is the kind of message that appeals to me. So the kind of message that appeals to him is that Sheikh Tawhidi has to say that the hadith is wrong. It's completely wrong, right? This appeals to him. So basically being a non-Muslim of an imam appeals to him. He says, most Aussies are fearful of Islam, firstly because of the media campaigning. Oh, true. Secondly, because Islam pushes into the culture. And he speaks about the Australians and Buddhists, and you wouldn't even know this single one. Thirdly, because Islam is intolerant and aggressive, and he says it's quite terrifying, and he mumble jumbles. Okay, so I basically would say to him, this is exactly the Muslim leader you want. Basically, a non-Muslim. And I also said to him, only criminals fear Sharia law. Yes, very terrifying to criminals. So in conclusion, folks, these two puppets here were clearly designed. Sheikh Tawhidi and man Harun Mones were clearly designed by the Zionists. Harun man Mones was designed to show the extreme element of Islam, right? To misinterpret Islam, basically. Nothing to do with Islam, but to show that Islam can be extremism in Australia. So they created this man on the right, man Harun Mones, and what they wanted to do is get him to dress up, and he's from Iran. Man Harun Mones is from Iran. They got him to dress up, do the black beard, put that white thing. Can you see how it's almost similar to that? Almost similar. You don't get many imams walking around looking like this, I can assure you. Okay, and the way their thobe, it's all dressed, planned, clear cut, glasses, really clean cut. It's like the same hairdresser and same costumer is designing both gears, right? So they basically dress up this guy. They make him look like a radical because, of course, when they're going against terrorism and so forth, they need to justify that terrorism is a major thing and it's a major problem. And we need to get Muslims out of Australia. We need to amp up Islamophobia and show that we hate Muslims, right? So they dress up this guy, they make him blow up and shoot up Link Cafe and commit terrorism. Now, after Man Morris is gone, they need to come up with something else because the guy's gone. They need someone, another puppet figure, another false flag out in the street now to again harass and tackle Islam. So now they thought, look, we already got our job done with terrorism. Now we need to come up with this guy. Okay, we need to dress him up, and perfect. He's an Irani anyway. He hates any Muslims. We can present him as a sheikh of the Muslims. and we'll dress him up and we will make him fight against the Muslims and cause more division. So this time, unlike Manhar Morris, we showed the extreme elements of Islam and Muslims. Now we're going to show that must be divided, and we need to show how the Islamic texts have to be rejected and thrown out, and it needs to be reformed. So now we're going to come up with a new figure, and that figure is this, Sheik Tawhidi. So now they're going to fund all of their efforts with him, give him all of the platform in the mainstream media, and they're going to try and show that this man is the true Muslim. Yes, the one who rejects Sharia law, the one who rejects the things of Islam, the one who rejects the Hadith. So it actually put in to disunite the Muslims and at the same time misguide Muslims on what Islam is, to make it something like Christianity. Yes, it has to become like Christianity, that everything in the Bible is metaphorical. The Bible doesn't really matter to you anymore. What matters is Jesus' blood, and that's it. You don't have to go to church, don't practice the biblical laws, and they're all outdated and ancient. This is what they want to do with Islam. And now they're using this guy, yes, Sheik Tawhidi.